Last week we had trouble getting the ball from our blue magnets, from our defensive third into our attacking or middle third in control possession. The reason was this: one, we had a tendency to make the pitch a little too small, and the other thing was Faulkner came at us and put us under a high press. So what we're going to work on today is trying to make that field as big as we possibly can when we're playing out, and we're going to work on different combinations to actually be able to overcome when a team presses us nice and high. Okay? If we can do that, I have no doubt that this week against Bentley, whoever it is, we'll be able to get through, and they do press high, and once we do get into these situations we'll have overloads, and I have no doubt that we're going to create plenty of goal scoring opportunities in controlled position. Okay? Cool. Right, there's a positioning game. Let's go. Catapult, Rusty. Need to deliver to a goalkeeper. Stuart.
I'd like the goalkeeper to look for player number 9 as early as possible, and if of course not on, then look for number 2 and 5.
Okay, rightio. So the question I've got, Stuart, is no issues with the player action, but given this is my game training, what's a player action for that? What's a player action for the keeper? The problem's this: you can deliver that player action to the keeper, and what's the first thing he's going to say to you?
There's no number 9. No.
Sorry, Stuart, I'd love to, mate, but there's no number 9. Yeah. He may. No, we're being facetious. You're right. Do you know? So just be aware that that's the game training. So that being said, what could be the player action in this game training for you? For that particular player action?
See if there's something like, say, the 6 and 8, I get
Maybe.
it behind the line.
Yeah. Right, that's okay. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'm not dismissing the player action. I'm saying your first option, or you're saying the first option might be either one of these plays.
If they're in time and space, long pass is fine. Is that not a cue? If they're in time and space, that ball can go there.
That's a combination of a cue and a player action. Yes.
But, goalkeeper.
So just let's talk this through. So you're comfortable enough with that player action?
So that's okay. It's a cue.
That's okay. You can combine the two.
You
can combine the two, in particular when you intervene and deliver. I combine both of them because I don't think you've got enough interventions up your sleeve to team task, player actions, and then come back to certain player actions and deliver the cue for that player action in another intervention. You're doubling up on interventions to deliver the player action and the cue. So yes, you can separate them in your script. However, when you deliver them, you might as well give the player...
So in that script, is that a cue or a player action?
So go through it again. Let's listen to it.
When in time and space on the ball, get the player to get the ball as quickly as possible to number 8 or number 6.
That would be a cue. Because there's a when and a how to do it. That's right. Right? The player action may be, keeper, can you get the ball forward, as far forward as possible? For example. And how does he do it? When you've got time and space, or when you're in possession of the ball, can you look up the field and identify a teammate to play to, if they're in time and space? Right? And granted, with all of these, we're working off the fly, so the language is not confusing, it's long and it's not articulated properly the best way.
I'm just trying to work it out for myself.
You work it out by writing it and improving it and delivering it, saying, I don't want the word controlled, I'll go with time. And, it's all right, so just be mindful of that. Anyone else with the...
Goalkeeper, if you play the ball to 3 or 4, position yourself in a passing lane to get the ball back.
Perfect. So there's a cue and a player action. So the player actions may be goalkeeper, can you support the play? During the build-up phase, can you support the play? And the cue is when the ball's in controlled possession in your back 4, can you position yourself to support the ball, or can you position yourself in a passing lane? Good one. I think that's a common one. I can see that being a real common one, right? Because what happens is they play the ball, and a lot of keepers at club play, they just go back to the safety of their 6-yard box, right? Whereas we want bosh, and I'm coming here, right? So there's one for the, there's a player action, a cue for a goalkeeper. What about one for the number 2 and 5?
Can they check out and check in to create space?
Okay, rightio. Can you, so what would be the player action there?
Can you support play action?
Player action for check in and check out.
Or the cue, you mean?
Action, action.
An action. What's the action?
Move 5
Can you
yards
get
forward,
as wide as
5
Okay,
yards back.
that is the action, physical action. But why do you want him to do that? This will get there. Why would you want him to
create
get
some space?
Okay, so number 2 and 5, can you create space for yourself to receive the ball? Or can you create space for yourself? Can you create space for yourself so that you're in time and space?
Yeah.
So you've got more time on the ball. Can you create space for yourself so that when you receive it, you've got more time? And the how, the cue is, right, as the ball's travelling to the number 3, can you lose your marker by checking one way and coming back? Right, so the player action was, why do you want him to do that? To have more time on the ball. Right? There's one for the 2 and 5. What else for the 2 and 5?
Can you get as wide as high?
Well, yeah, there's one. What, can you make the field as big as possible when we're in possession of the ball? Right, that's a good one. And the cue could be, when the goalkeeper has the ball in control, can you position yourself high and wide, level with the opposition number 7 and 11. Level and outside with the 7 and 11.
Ivan, would you want them just level and outside? Or would you want them,
Bit beyond.
could you, I mean, by saying it like that, are they going to go, oh, I can't go past them? Whereas there might be an opportunity whereby they've actually got a lot of space and they
Good
can
point.
step into the next line.
Good point. So the word level and outside might force him there, and if this guy comes in to there, do I drop down? Right? No, you probably then want the 6 and 8 to come in to bounce out. So carefully word it. Carefully word it. What might be the player action and the cue?
You say,
It's a tough one because there's 2 scenarios,
yeah,
right? And it's relative to this guy.
Yeah, the behaviour of him.
The behaviour of him. So the cue could be, if the opposition number 7 blocks the passing lane to you, number 6, can you come in to bounce out? Right?
and you could go at least level and outside.
Right? If the number 7 drops off, can you push him as high as possible?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Because if he keeps doing that,
Then we create time and space for
we're
number.
happy, right? Well, all of a sudden we're really happy. So there you go. And that's, I think that's important. Right? Then now we're starting to see the complexity of a script and player actions and coach cues. But very good point, James. Right, so there's a couple there. Basic one, I think, that you'll see at C licence level in particular is number 2 and 5. Can you position yourself in a passing lane? As the ball's travelling to the number 3, number 2 and 5, can you get into a passing line? Right, because what we find is, he's there, they start there, the ball goes there, and this guy doesn't want to come down there early enough. Right, get into a passing lane. Right, so the passing lane one's, okay, let's start to develop this script. 2 and 5. If the ball's on this side of the field, number 2, can you maybe shuffle across? Right, then you're starting to work on some shape-related issues. So I'm just giving you some ideas of how complex and how elaborate this can become, which is what we expect. Right? You're looking for in your script player actions every single scenario that may happen. And if you've got that answer for your team, that's good. Right? You've prepared them well for this week's game. Rightio, what about the 3 and 4? One fundamental one, which I think in the A-League, I was actually analysing Melbourne Heart the other day, watching them, and I thought this was fundamental, and I see it a lot in A-League. Number 3 and 4.
When in space, when in possession, if there's space in front of you, can you attack the
That's
space?
the one. Number 3 and 4, if you have space in front of you, can you dribble forward? I don't think in the A-League we look for our defenders to create a numerical advantage in midfield enough. That's my personal opinion, right? Take that further, Taylor. Who can now really get into some good information regarding the 3 and 4 attacking space?
When 3 and 4 passes or goes beyond
The 2 and 5.
5, must tuck in.
Okay, there's one. So if the 3 and 4 dribble past the 2 and 5, number 2 or 5, can you tuck in behind? Okay, that's the cue there. Right, there's one other thing here.
6 and 8 need to buy
Yes, okay, so if you're dribbling into space, number 6 and 8, what do you want them to do? Well, maybe then you're starting to get them out of the block. I don't know why I'm using that when there's this in there. It's fucking stupid. You can put that on YouTube. Rightio, so there's the picture, and let's make sure we all see this. Rightio. So, let's just say they're like that. So he's dribbling forward, number 8. Right, create that. Where do you want me to dribble? Where do you really want your 3 and 4 to dribble? Towards what?
Towards it, 9.
Towards
The 9, like the pass.
middle.
Towards the centre, towards number 10. You know.
okay, there's space there.
Between
Why though? But give me a cue. You told me if I see space, can you dribble and attack it? Was that the player action? Here's the player, Ivan Jolik, dumb. I see space everywhere, mate. I'm going here, man. I like it here, brother.
Well, if you've got the ball, we're safe. Don't worry.
You wish. So have a look at the picture. Have a look at the picture. There's a bit of key information. Yes, Jeffrey.
Yeah, well, isolate the 7 or 11 and a 2v1.
Now we've got some good information. Rightio. If in time and space, can you create a 2v1 and attack it? Something like that. So all of a sudden you're looking at overload situations. Right, so this might be a good one to go to. Rightio. He comes there. He can either bounce in it and we're out. Right? So now we're starting to look at 2v1 scenarios. Right? Because there might be teams, world-class teams, who'll give you the space. They'll just drop off. Right? And that wasn't our game training because it was under a high press. Right? But just imagine, you might need a script also for they're giving you that space. And you've got to work out, well, where do I actually attack? Which side do I go to? Right, yeah.
So the thing is, if 3 or 4 attacking space, can 6 and 8 get in the position to create bounce in, bounce out? Is that what it is?
No, I don't need a bounce in, bounce out. At what point do I need? At what point does anywhere on the field, generally speaking, I wouldn't say that. In what situation and what scenario do you want the 6 and 8 to come in?
When the defender starts to press.
Okay, so here we go. If the ball carrier has pressure on him, can you come in to support or come in to come out? If he's in time and space, get out. Right? And that's a fundamental one across the field. And that's what you'll see the world-class teams do. They really only go towards the player when he needs him. You know, when he's under pressure. If he's not, we'll just keep progressing and advancing forward. Right? So there's some good player actions for the 3 and 4. Right, yeah, 6 and 8. We've sort of touched on them. Give us some player actions for the 6 and 8. There's one straight out.
Stay the width of the centre circle.
Yep.
Stay the width.
Do you want that?
Between the opposition lines? No.
Between the opposition lines?
As high as what?
And James and I, well, speaking of, I don't know, it might have been, you know. When do you want him to work off his shoulder? Like that. So you're talking about in between opposition lines. When do you want him to move into there?
When the carrier run into more space.
I think we can improve the language.
Yes,
Definitely
yes, of
correct,
course.
and I'll tell you what it is. If he's got time and space on the ball, you can work off his shoulder. You can go in between lines, right? In that situation, mate, I need you near, right?
Yeah.
So it's the cue. When does he come in? When does he work off the shoulder? When do you want him in between the lines? And they're the cues, right? But a good one, a good one. Right, any others? Any others for the 6 and 8? Fundamental one in.
If one goes in, one goes out.
Okay. So one comes in and the other one remain out of the block. And the block is
That corridor.
right? And we always generally want one out of the block. Okay? When do you want him to come in?
Who?
Does he need to come in now?
The blue.
No.
Both the blue 6 and the 8 are the same side of the opposition.
Sorry.
Move wide a bit.
Do you want him to come in or do you want him to go out?
Out.
Go out.
Out.
He's dragging out defense.
There.
Look there.
Now coming.
No.
Might be too late. So if the passing lane to the 5 or the 5 is block, and if he can't go back out via the keeper, number 6 and 8, can you come out? Right? What do you want the 6 to do now?
Ask for ball. Stay there. Ask for ball. Stop.
Into out.
Go in a bit to the there.
Right, let's just say that's the scenario. Just remember, he can come in to bounce out where?
Go either way.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, what have we created? We go back to our other player action. Right? So the player action also might be, if the number 9 is pressing the ball, can we get the ball out to the other side quickly? Which is where we believe the overload might be. Right, so there we've got a range of player actions that you're all writing down and scribing. Let's get into the actual practice. And you will coach in your pairs or individually. When you see a player action you want to coach, you go in there and conduct a freeze replay. And if that's someone's son, be very nice to him and tell him that he needs to leave. What we need is, going to bust your chops, can you narrow the pitch on that side by 2 metres? You wouldn't, mate. I just want to make it more difficult for the team playing out.
You're going to notify him?
Sorry?
Notify him?
Well, no, you'd have to tell him. Let him just do it whilst he's doing it. Well, class through the legs, we're happy with that. Just hold it there, Joey. So we're narrowing the pitch. So that the only reason we're narrowing it is that to make it more difficult for the Blues so that the candidates can have a go at coaching. Right? So that's not something you do in your session. Right? I'm just making it more difficult for you so there's more errors and more opportunities to coach. Rightio, let's just 7 and 11, sort yourselves out. And that'll do. There. Mickey, get into your shape. Corner of the box. Rightio.
Okay, so this should be able to create some problems for, or opportunities for the coaches. So you're in charge now, I've done it.
Hand back. Laura, stay up. Well done,
Joey!
Oh.
Steve.
That's a hard ball. Surely that's an intervention
Oh, I
time.
thought,
Come
I
on.
thought we let it run and see what happens again.
Oh, just intervene, just intervene. I know what you're...
Sorry.
Yes. Hey. Yes. Not bad shield to turn.
Have a crack, have a crack. 6 points.
Do we really think in this scenario that you coming back here, helping him? What you can see from here? So it's getting tired. What he could do to help you? Take him away. Listen to him. Take him away. Is he in a good position for you? Can you do anything better to help you? Happy with that?
I prefer that than
Now, guys, listen to me. When he's in control of the ball and he's carry on, we need to create space. We need to create line between ourselves and the carrier, and we need to make sure that we can see him and another teammate. So in your scenario, it would be good if you can see the ball and you can see number 6 or number 8 to do ball in, ball 3, and ball back. You would be great to take him away and have always your body facing him and facing in for the ball coming in, bouncing on. So if ball comes from the keeper, back to him. Number 4, receiving the ball. Got your forward, get a shutdown, ball to number 6, bouncer in, bouncer out, and we go. So let's start back again, ball to the keeper. Let's walk this properly, guys. Number 1 on the ball, get it back to shape. Ball is alive, ball is alive when number 6 touches the ball. Hey, back there, ball is alive when 6 touches the ball. No one moves. Ball to number 1. Ready? Let's go. And we go. Start again. Well done, Armando. You can.
When we've got the ball here, our 6 and 8, at all times, if one is coming in, one has to come out. What are you doing if you're both coming in? Closing down the space. Closing the area. Closing the area. Goalkeeper, are you supporting in the passing lane?
I am.
Good. So if one of you in, one of you out. I need you to get out of the space. Okay? Okay. So number 6 can come in. Can come in. So let's go back to the keeper. Joey back. Come out a bit, come out a bit. Come out a bit. As he's getting the ball, I want you to come in, okay? As he's getting the ball, I want you to come in. Get out. Bounce it in. Number 6, bounce it back to the keeper. Change sides to create an overload. That's what we're trying to aim for. And away we go. You're live. Nick. Nick. Use it.
Start again. Start again.
Let's go.
Okay.
Sorry, mate.
Separate. See there? Coming to bounce out. Obviously, the technical ability's not there. That was perfect.
Don't take risks.
You have to get out wide. You have to come out a bit hard. You close the gap. Get out. Number 6 was coming in.
Ready?
Yes.
Defender as well, so come out deeper. Come out deeper. Yeah, this way. Come out. Keep coming. Bit more. Bit more, bit more. So if you are coming in, you're checking away.
touch, and I'll hit it, might bounce out. At the moment we're coming from about here and we can't get that bounce in, bounce out. So start from a deeper position, then when our 5 or our 2 gets the ball, then you can look for that bounce in, bounce out. The cue for him to go is when the 5 and the 2 get the ball. That's when you'll move in. Before that, sorry, the 3 and 4, my apologies. The 3 and the 4. Don't go until the 3 or the 4 gets the ball. So stay out. Because when he starts pressing, that's when I want you to go in.
Do you want us on different lines though? We're both going in.
He can tuck in a little bit, but if the ball's going from this side, I want you to stay out. Okay? All right. All right. Then kick. I'm happy with that. Try that out. Let's go. Hold on. Now you're coming.
At the picture, so we're the blue team and there's the red team. What was
Yes, yeah, there was like this, the scenario, and number 6 and number 8 were here, and number 6 start dropping on him.
Yes.
And shutting down. So I told him when we got time and space and we are got into space, I want you to move away.
Yes.
To create a bouncing opportunity, and I want you to stay wide so where you can see this line and this line.
Okay, so there's a bit of information there. What do you make of the information?
The first thing I thought was for the player on the ball, how many defenders are around the ball? Like for me, is that the right decision to make based on that scenario? That was.
So that maybe a football knowledge question mark? I agree. What about the information you've just delivered, Armando? You said you want him to go out there to bounce out, but you want him to come into a passing lane.
So I was supposed to tell him when. Stay in this position. When I pass the ball to number 6, I want you to make a run to create the bouncing opportunity.
The cue.
So I should give him a cue. I didn't give any cue.
Okay, so cues. I think along all 3 of them, the information, the cues, is something that will improve. Okay, Jeff's got an interesting thought, and that is in this scenario. In that scenario there, let's just make it up, something like that. In that scenario, what's the alternative, Jeff?
Go back to the keeper.
Okay, and I think if we're trying to create the 2v1 overload situation, the question, and I think the information possibly that would have yielded a better outcome is, if the number 9 is on this side in front of you, can you come back out and go the other way quickly, right? And then we've got what we want. Okay, so the only time, not the only, but if he can't go back out because the number 9's clever and makes one of those arc runs, well, that's when he's coming in to bounce out. What about the actual, all 3, because we're in a bit of a rush, all 3, when you intervene, what's the first thing you do? I spoke about it yesterday.
Stop.
You stop. Rightio?
Get him back into position.
Rightio? What did you think about all 3 of you coming in?
Get the ball back to...
Okay, you've got to get the ball back. Right at that moment, did you hear them?
Yeah, I did.
As a generalisation. Okay, rightio? Happy enough with the voice projection. I think that's critical. If you want the picture, you demand it, and you demand it with your voice by saying freeze, stop, whatever your cue is. Whatever it is, must be heard by all. When you stop play to intervene, what's not happening? What's not happening? Players aren't playing, right? So if they're not playing, are they in the shits with you or they're happy with you? Stop. Rightio. So Theo, here's a tip for all of you. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? So you've stopped play, you're trying to restart? What? ASAP. So walking there, imagine, right? You can imagine, right? So you've got to show a fair bit of urgency to say, I don't really want to do it. So it's bang, you're in, bang, you're out. Think of it as a timeline. I've stopped here, they're not playing, I'm talking, and then they start again. I fancy watching a movie where the bloke at the back of the says, sorry mate, I want to go, mate, see you, just play, I want to tow a toilet, the cameraman or whoever in a cinema, he presses pause and you're there waiting going, I've paid to watch a movie. And he's up there with the pause button. Audio presses play again and then he goes, oh sorry man, I forgot my lunch, my popcorn. Press pause. Think of your reaction, you know, far out man, just let me watch the movie. Right, so be mindful of getting in and out as quickly as possible. But you can do it really quickly, but then what might you compromise?
The information.
The message across. Yeah. There's an art. Intervening's become an art all of a sudden. How quickly can you get in and out, but delivering the best message to improve play performance? Okay? So Armando was nice and loud. Question mark on football knowledge and the delivery of the cue. Either way, I think with the right cue you might have got a result. What about the freeze replay? Were you happy with the freeze replay? Not the freeze replay. Were you happy with the replay?
Not the first one because they started without listening to me, so I had to restart it the second time.
Okay, there's something. He wasn't happy, so we made him redo it. I think that's fair enough. Granted, I've got to, from where I stopped it all the way here, I'm not going to now compromise the quality of the finish by not replaying properly. So I would say if you don't get the replay you want, you bloody do it. That being said, I was on a B licence one and the guy replayed about 6 times until he demoralised the player in question, and in the end, seriously, that's not managing your players well. At some point you've got to give up and say, rightio, I've got to get out of here. Now let him play and I'll do it better next time. Yeah. Right? Just maybe once or twice, you know, 4 or 5 times replay. That might be too much. That might be too much in the one intervention. Then we went on to Theo, so personally getting quicker. That being said, what was the information you delivered? Paint the picture for us. I think, it was on this side.
Same thing, but on the other side. Like 6 and 8 came in.
Let's do it on the other side. Let's paint this picture properly.
The ball has been played out by Joey. 6 and 8 coming in. He pressed in. What I said was, if the 9 is pressing, one out, one to come in, so that we can get Joe in a position where he's in a passing lane. So if one gets out, he drags the player, get in the position where he can go back the other way quickly, bounce in, bounce out, and go to create an overlay position. What I didn't neglect to do is I didn't ask, I think it was
the two, let's call it the 2.
To get out wide to drag the other player away. That's what I didn't neglect to do.
Okay, just say he didn't go.
He didn't go, that's right.
Rightio. Just say he didn't, even if he did. I suppose the question is, who saw what transpired the next phase? I think there was a couple of phases after. Taylor did come in and they did do the rotation.
Yeah.
They did do the rotation and he came in to bounce out, and what happened? Why? Why did the defender know what was going to happen?
Told.
Hey?
Told.
Oh, I don't think so. Why did it happen? No.
Risky.
Why was it risky? So a player's coming in, it's a football knowledge question really. He's got the ball and you want the number 6 to go high and the number 8 to come in here to potentially bounce in that way.
It's the body shape.
Body shape. And in the end, the problem is, this bloke, if I come in to receive the ball this way, everyone on the field knows where the next touch has to be. That way. Unfortunately, Taylor came in to bounce out and he tried to get out that way, he got cut out. So as a football knowledge one, more than anything, he did what you actually told him to do. Both of them did it. I saw the switch, true or false?
Yes,
so and in the end, I would say, ball's on this side, 6, you come in to bounce out, 8, you remain high. Because he's coming in from an angle where he can go that way, or he can go that way with his left foot. Right, so more of football knowledge. In terms of the replay, were you happy with the replay?
I did take it back to Joey and went through it. And I'm sure we're happy.
I can't recall it.
No, we did the replay. Go back to the CCTV. We did the replay.
Let's go back to YouTube.
I'll ask Joe. Did we go through it again? Or
Yeah, we did the replay.
Yeah, you did.
Don't you think number 6 coming down there has to organize his body shape according to whoever is available? Maybe not available, so has to play the other way. So he has to organize his body shape coming down. So by looking at both opportunities, I mean, if number 4 is available, different body shape. If 2 is available, different body shape.
You can coach that if you want. You can coach that, why not? Yep.
How many cues you reckon you can deliver in one freeze frame?
I think for every player action, for that particular player that's on the ball that you're trying to affect, there's one cue for that player action. But that doesn't mean that there's other consequential things of the players. So in that case, so you're affecting the 6, but he also spoke to Joey. Right. So when he's got the ball and he's under pressure, can you come in to bounce out? Right. So there's a range of information that you can deliver, and it's of the players that are affected by the environment. Right. Now I'd say that I thought it was a good thing to get this passing lane option out in that intervention with Joey, because I think it was appropriate, and whilst you're there, it was a good one to deliver. Affected that one.
So
potentially.
You're saying I got the 6 and 8 confused.
I think in general, I'm not sure that you'd want your 6 and 8 to come so shallow and come in on that body shape. Right, because you've asked him to bounce out there, and he actually physically can't do it. Right, it got cut out, and I think they scored. Right, so on this side, if you want the rotation, I'd say make it from higher so that he's coming in that way. If you want the rotation. It was more just he made this arc run in there and then trying to play the ball literally across his body. Right, and then we had Yubang. Yubang was allowed. He got in relatively quickly. What else? Information. What information?
I think there was my first thing was I got the 2 and the 5 confused with 3 and 4, and then as Jeff pointed out, what's the cue? I think I said when the MC receives the ball, I want it a bit higher. And I said when the MC receives the ball to play that in there, but I'd probably prefer that when he starts to press this way, he can.
That's your cue to come in. Right,
yeah, then he can play either there to bounce out, or maybe there or to the keeper.
Right, so your sole focus or your key focus was to keep them high. I thought that was fundamental, maybe the biggest issue. What I think a couple of you, and I don't know who it was, but one of the key things is Yubang came in with a style which was more to tell. I think you engaged in what with the plays?
Can you?
What else could you do? And I think it's an important part of intervening. It's instead of telling your player, you actually remember what we say about telling and the transfer of knowledge. Sometimes you need to tell. There's a point at which you just need to tell something, right? And it could be because you really want to make it short. It might be the last thing from intervention in the game training. You've had a few and you're going, right, this one's going to have to just be short and sharp, which was, I'll tell you. What's the other mode that we can get engaging with players? Q&A. Q&A. Right, so Q&A, and I don't know who it was. I think you might have asked the question. Yeah, you could have asked the question anyway. So Q&A is something because you ask the question, what did you see? What could you do here? And hopefully they're solving the problem for you, with you, together, because the transfer of knowledge is better. So Q&A wasn't maybe prevalent so much with Yubang. He just wanted to tell. He got the outcome he wanted. What about the replay? There was no replay. So he didn't give the players the opportunity to consolidate the knowledge. By not doing a replay, what else don't you get the opportunity to confirm?
If they understand.
If they actually understood it. It's like the training game for us is to observe, to hopefully there's a transfer to see how good the understanding is. That's like an intervention. You do the replay so that, did he actually understand? Yeah, no, he actually understood what I wanted to do. Right? So that gives you an idea of intervening, and that's fundamental.
So, Ivan, in this case, the advice to the player, though, was about their starting positions. Yes. So how do you replay a starting position? Because I think the 6 and 8 were high for the starting position from there, so they were doing it.
I suppose, what's the cue?
He gave that cue.
Okay, no, he did, and what Jeff's saying is, but it wasn't a starting position. It wasn't from a stop or start, restart. How could I say it? It wasn't from a goal kick. It wasn't when the goalkeeper had controlled possession in his hands, right? Or it wasn't a goal kick. So what's the cue?
That is the cue. That is the cue from the goalkeeper has possession.
Okay, so that means that whilst the 3's transferring the ball, so goalkeeper's got the ball and they start high. As soon as that is there and it goes there, because the keeper hasn't got the ball, you're happy for them to come in.
That's what I was saying. It's when the 9 presses and blocks the passing lane to the keeper is when I want my 6 or my 8 to come in.
Okay. So that's there.
Yeah, that's when
I want you to come in when he's. I think that's a good cue.
I think I said differently
but does that answer it? You know, I only want you to come in when he's under pressure and can't go back out to the keeper. So, are they under pressure? Can they not go back to the keeper? Yes or no? Is he under pressure? No. As a result of that, that cue would suggest they need to stay up. High. That was a cue. Only come in if he's under pressure. Oh, that's my cue to come in. Right? The other cue could be when in free play and the goalkeeper's got controlled possession. Again, maybe what's controlled? Right, we'll define that in your team. Stay high. Just stay high. And that then accounts for free play, where we're just keeping it.
So maybe go back one more phase. Give the ball to the 3 or the 4, then play it back to the keeper and make sure
play it back there.
6 and 8.
Right, so maybe they came in and for whatever reason he was there, play it back there and get that behaviour. He's under no pressure here. Right? So that'll give you an idea of how to construct a script and player action, team task, player actions, coach cues. Busy morning, it's 1:45, back upstairs for a